Hi class, welcome to Lab 4 Part 2, File Globing or Wildcards. Now, before we start answering these questions and having fun, let's first go over the little review that we have over here. Again, if you I suggest you that before you do all of this, you go and read the presentation, specifically the part about wildcards, then you practice a ton of it, and then you come back here. That's what I suggest. So let's go over a brief description of wildcards. Now, we have three types. We have the star, we have the question mark, and we have the brackets. The star are used for matching zero or more than one character, right? The question mark matches only one character. And the brackets, match a set of characters. Here's three beautiful examples. Match A, C, or F, right? Match A to F, or do not match A to F. Now, in the presentation, we have clear examples of this. So if I go to the presentations over here, and I go to wildcards, and I found you. Over here, these are examples of using the star wildcard. As you can see, example number one, it is described over here. ls star.txt will list all the files that end in .txt. Now again, I suggest you to read this. I suggest you to practice it. I'm not gonna do your homework for you. Do your, give the old college try to this. Now, the question mark wildcard, like I said before, matches a single character, right, in a file name. Here are examples of the question mark wildcard. As you can see, for instance, example number one, for the command number one, ls, see that there is a lot of files over there that starts with letter B. In example number two here, I match all the hidden files that were in the directory dir, and then look for example number three. In example number three, right here, example number three, which is command number four, same thing. I'm looking for a specific one right there. This is a good one. So in command number six, I match all the files that have two characters between letter B and letter K, and I didn't care about what was after letter K. Now, the brackets wildcard, like I said before, is used for matching a set of characters, right? Matching a set. For instance, list all the files that start with letter F, have a vowel between letter F, and I don't care what's left after the vowel. Here is another example. List all the files that do not have a vowel after letter F. List all the files that have any letter between A to C lowercase. Notice that star over there indicates that I don't care what's after that particular letter or that particular word. I don't particularly care what's after that character. I care what's in that particular set. Like that's the search criteria that I'm using. Over here, for instance, matches all the files that have one number in their file name. So as long as there is a number in the file name, that's gonna match it. And then over here you can match letters A to P, including also letters S and C. Over here you're gonna match two sets. Letters A to P, a file that starts with letter A to P, or letters A, S, and C. Sorry, or letters A to F, or letters P to C. And over here is cool because over here you're looking for a file that has one number, and another number, and then your username as its file name. Okay, now you can see specific examples of that. Actually, those examples in practice, you can see them over here in this slide. And yeah, also the brackets wildcard can use what is called character sets or regex character classes, right? It's just a way of writing this, right? So this over here is the human, let's say, the simple way of writing this particular set, but you can also use POSIX classes, which can be used with regex for you to match the same character set, right? This means the same thing, right? That's all it is. Now, I like to use these guys when I have like when I'm matching something simple, but when I'm matching complex stuff, like for instance all hexadecimal digits, like that's annoying to write. I'd rather write this. For instance, when I'm matching printed characters, right, that don't contain spaces, I use this instead of using that because let's face it, this is easier than that, right? Okay, and that is the particular little brackets that I had in the markdown file of lab number 4 part 2, and that's it. Brace expansion, we'll talk about it once we're done with wildcards. So now let's go back to our lab. Now, in question number 1, notice that I divided this lab a little bit differently. Instead, I put 5 questions and I put 5 problems in each question because I want you to, this is more about thinking than it is about memorization, because wildcards are a feature of the shell. So you are gonna use that to solve specific problems that you might encounter. So the goal here is to understand how they work so that you can adjust them to whatever scenario that you can come up with. So let's take a look at the start wildcard, and here are 5 problems for us to think about. So let's say that you have a directory with a bunch of files. In this directory, you want to list all the files that have the extension .txt. So you want to list all the text files. How would you do that? Like, how would I do that? Let's say I have 1,000 files in the folder, but I only care about text files. How can I isolate those files so that I can work with them? Well, here is an example. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to go to this folder, because in this folder you're gonna have a bunch of files so that you can tell me how you will solve this problem. So let's go to CD lab 4. Oh, let me see if I downloaded the file. Nope, I haven't downloaded it yet. So before you start working on that, make sure that you run this command over here. This curl command is going to set up our environment for us to work on. And bingo, that's what I was looking for. So let's do lab 4, and then let's go to question 1, and let's do clear. Now I'm gonna do an ls. Now this over here, I kind of don't like it because it's too messy. I want a better view. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna do another listing. This time I am going to get it in a single column, and I want to sort it by file extension, just to make my life easier, right? So you see, like, all the CSS files are, listed one after each other. The same thing for HTML, and here are my TXT files. Notice that the one thing those files have in common is that they end in .txt. So if I want to list those, I can just do ls star, right, and then .txt. Now, somebody might say, hey, professor, why are you using .txt and not just txt? Why not? Here is the reason why. I specifically want files whose file extension is .txt. Because let's say that I have a file named touch random text, right? If I run the following expression over here, right, ls star .txt, not only will it read these files over here that are .txt files, but it's also gonna give me random text, right? Because I did not include the period in the rest of my text over here. So that's the reason why I prefer to use period and then the extension mark, because I want it to be specific that I'm looking for stuff that whose name I don't care about, but I care about their extension. Now let me remove that random file because it's not needed, right? And this over here is your answer pretty much for problem 1. That's how I would do it, right? Now, let's take a look at problem number 2. What if you want to be more specific? For example, you want to list all the text files, but only those who start with a specific word or letter. For example, all the files that start with letter B. How would you do that? And again, we're going to use the same directory to solve this problem. So what I'm going to do is that if you want to take a screenshot at this point, that's fine, of your command or command line, obviously. You will know when to take your own screenshots, because you need to give me a picture of every command that you use to solve each particular problem. That's how you're going to prove that you're doing the work. Now, I'm going to do again ls -x1 to see everything in a nice beautiful column so that I can work with. And now they want me to list all the files that start with letter B and are text files. So that means that I don't care about what's in here. I only care about this, and I only care about this. So I'm gonna be specific about those two things, but I'm not gonna be specific about what's in the middle. So I'm gonna do ls, and as a matter of fact, I'm gonna do the same thing. X1, right? Because I still want it in a single column. You don't have to. I'm doing it just because it looks better. That's about it. And I want to specify that I want letter B. I don't care what's in the middle, but I care what file extension they have. And as you can see, the only 2 files that meet this criteria are books.txt and bots.txt. Okay, so let's take a look at question number 3. What if you want to list all the CSS and HTML files? I'll let you do that one on your own. And let's say you want to know the size of all the files. I'll let you do that one on your own as well. I want you to use what you know to solve question problem 3, 4, and let me see. What if you want to have a bunch of files from lab 1? What if you want to move a bunch of files from lab 1, from directory 1 to another example? I'm gonna let you do problem 5 on your own as well. What I'm asking you is use the mv command and a particular wildcard to move a bunch of files from one place to the other. So I want you to try to crack it on your own. Again, there are examples of these in the presentation. So again, I'm gonna let you crack it on your own because that one seems to be straightforward enough, and we have already covered the material for you to be able to solve this one. Again, if you can crack it, don't spend 3 hours on it. Just contact me. I'll give you an example. Okay, so let's take a look at question number 2, and give me one quick second. Okay, guys, I had to edit this document because the formatting wasn't right. Now the formatting is right, so we can continue. Now, in the previous question, we learned how to match. Let's remove that from there. There you go. Perfect. In the previous question, we learned how to match multiple characters in a file name. Now, what happens when we want to match a specific number of characters? The following scenarios explore the use of the question mark wildcard for matching a given number of characters. Now, let's say you want to move the following XML files to the XML files directory. And we're going to work on the question 2 folder for this because we're already done with question 1. So let's do clear and let's do cd, parent directory, and then question 2. Clear, and let's do one ls x1. Let's take a look at what we have. Okay, so we have a bunch of JSON, XML, and XML files. Perfect. And we have a folder called XML files. And they want us to let's say they want us to move bat, bit, and bed from here to here. How can we do it? Now, take a look at what they have in common. They start with letter B. They have one vowel or one letter right after letter B, and they have letter D. So we can use the question mark wildcard here to match it. But for example, if I want to list them, I can simply do B question mark D, and I'm gonna use a star for the file extension. But if I want to be specific, then I can also just specify the file extension, right? XML. And take a look that my search criteria, right, for listing files definitely match these guys because this is what this matches, right? It starts with letter B. It has one character after letter B. Has letter D right after that particular character, and then finishes in that XML. Now they want me to move this. Okay, no problem. MV B question mark D that XML, and then where am I moving this? To XML files. Done. If you do the ls command one more time, those files are gone. Well, they're not gone. They are inside XML files. Okay. Now, let's take a look at question number 2. And question number 2 is telling you one thing that is very important to remember. Now, in Linux, whenever you want to list, whenever you want to create a wildcard to match only hidden files, because I only want to list the hidden files, right? We can use a wildcard for that. There are other ways that you can do that, but a wildcard is actually super efficient for this. But now, the problem here is that if we do ls period star, because we know that all hidden files start with a period, it's gonna give us not only our current directory, but it's also gonna list the parent directory, because in Linux the present working directory is represented by a period, and the parent directory is represented by 2 periods. So how can we go around this particular bug turn into feature? Well, we can use this wildcard over here. And when you do ls period, so you're telling it, okay, I want my every file that starts with a period, but it has to have a character after that, and it has to have another character after that. So there must be 2 characters right there. This invalidates this right away, right? And then you say, however, after that, I want this to have something else, either nothing or something else. And if you type enter, notice that these files are hidden, but they are the only thing that can be matched by this particular wildcard. The parent directory is no longer applicable here. And that is pretty much the answer over here. So read it on your free time. Now let's take a look at problem number 3. Since the question mark wildcard matches only one character, we can use multiple question marks to match multiple characters. For instance, how do you list all the files in a given directory that have 4 letters in their respective file extension? Now, I'm not going to do problem 2 and I'm not going to do problem 4. With the knowledge that you have of the question mark wildcard and the examples that we have in the presentation, you should be able to answer this particular question over here. But again, the same thing applies over here. If you don't remember, if you don't know, if you can crack it, then we can do it together. But I want you to give it a try. Now let's take a look at question number 3, and I'm going to clear my screen for that. Now, using the brackets wildcard. In the previous question, we learned how to match one character or multiple characters. What happens when we want to match a set? For instance, I want to list all the files that start with a vowel, all the files that start with 3 numbers, all the files whose names start with an uppercase letter, a lowercase letter, a number, and then another uppercase letter. We can do all that. We can match all of that using the brackets. Now let's take a look at the first problem. You want to list all the hidden Python files that start with lowercase, with a lowercase letter. But the question here, where am I going to work? Well, question 3. So let's go back to my parent directory and then question 3. And let's do an ls, and we have 3 files only. But let's see if we have any hidden files here. So let's do an ls minus a, and there you go. And nope, we don't have any hidden files. So let's do clear. Let's do ls minus x1. That's a little better for me. At least I prefer that. Yeah. Okay, so we want to list all the hidden Python files that start with a lowercase letter, but there are no hidden files here. So that's probably a bug. That's probably an error carried down from another semester. So let me fix that, and then we can go back over here. Okay, actually we had one hidden file. It's just that I missed it. So what I did was that I created 2 more over here, but just for the sake of practicing. However, when you run the script on your end, these files will be on your computer. So if we do this again, we're going to see that we have 1, 2, and 3 files. But I want us to list only those 3 files. That's the only thing that we need to list. So how can we do it? Okay. Now, notice that this file over here, they start, let me see, yeah, okay. You want to list all the hidden files that start with a lowercase letter. Okay, now that's better. Now, for me to represent the lowercase letters, all I have to do is, now let's do minus a, and I'm gonna do capital A so that these 2 are excluded. And then, inside the brackets, I'm gonna type A to C. And then, I'm gonna do star, right? Because I don't care about the rest of the name, I only care about the first letter, and then the file extension, because I don't want to list everything else. I don't want to list RB, right? And I don't want to list drill, right? And press enter. Oh, there you go. That's better. I missed the period. My mistake. As you can see, this particular wildcard over here, first of all, period, because the file is hidden. And then after the period, it needs to have a lowercase letter. And then I don't care about the rest of the name, but I do care about the file extension. And as you can see, only these 2 files match this criteria because another app starts with capital letter. Okay, now let's take a look at problem number 2. You want to list all the files that start with an uppercase letter, are followed by a lowercase letter, and have a number in the file extension. Okay, have a number before the file extension. Okay, so now, obviously ls, and the first you have to start with an uppercase letter. So I know that I need my ranges from uppercase A to uppercase C. And then it needs to be followed by a lowercase letter. So I know that I need a range from A to Z, right? I got the first 2 letters. And then it needs to have a number before the file extension. It needs to have a number before the file extension. This is problematic here because if I do here 0 to 9, I'm going to exclude everything else that has the number after whatever is A to C. Like what if it has A, Z, a letter, and then a number? This particular character set is not going to match it. However, I can put a star here to tell her, hey, look, you know what? If after the lowercase letter you have no characters, that's fine. If you have one character, that's fine. If you have 20 characters is fine as well. All I care is that there is a number, and after the number, I don't care what's there, because I don't care about the file extension, right? I don't care what file extension is. All I care is that the particular file starts with an uppercase letter, has a lowercase letter, and it has a number before the file extension. If you want it to be more specific, because as a matter of fact, now that I reread it, you do need to be more specific. You need to provide a period and a star to be more specific here. Again, let's reread it. Uppercase letter, A to C. Lowercase letter, lowercase a to c. A number before the file extension, period, a star, everything else after that is a file extension, and then the number. And obviously an star over here because it can have more letters, it can have more characters there. But as long as it has a number, we are happy. Press enter, and notice that only one of our files over here match this criteria. Uppercase letter, lowercase letter. It has two characters here, but we don't care because we use a star. And one number, and then a file extension. Period, and then a file extension. Perfect. Now, problem number 3. You want to list all the files that start with letters A, D, or E and K, or E and K. There is an example of this in the presentation. I want you to try to crack it. And the same thing for question number 4. There is an example that you can use in the table over here. Whenever you want to negate something, in the brackets, all you have to do is put a question mark. And this now is going to match uppercase letter, no lowercase letter after that. So it can have a number, it can have a symbol, and it can have an uppercase, but it cannot have a lowercase letter, and then the rest you know it. So I want you to try to crack on problem 3 and problem 4 on your own. And then I'll see you in a little bit for brace expansion. Okay, brace expansion. This is Bash's magic pretty much, and you're gonna see why. So when we say brace expansion, this is another feature that is not a wildcard. So don't confuse it with a wildcard. This is actually a Bash feature. It's a feature of the shell that I like to teach it alongside shell. Oh my God, I'm losing my English. Can you believe that? I like to teach it alongside wildcards because they are related. It's productivity wise. It's another productivity tool of the shell. So a brace expansion, like I said, is not a wildcard but a feature, and it allows you to expand a command. So it allows you to run a command in a way such that it can do multiple things at the same time or operate in multiple files without you needing to run the command multiple times. For instance, if you want to create an entire directory tree, right? The entire thing, instead of just creating one directory and then going inside and creating another directory and then another directory and another one, or if you want to create 7 directories, right, in different folders without having to do 7 touch commands, you can do it with brace expansion because that's what it does. It literally expands the functionality of the shell so that the command can operate multiple times without needing of rerunning, without needing multiple instances. And that is just fascinating, amazing. Once you get a grasp of brace expansion, you are 20 times more efficient on the terminal than you were before. Let's take a look at an example. If you look at the mkdir command that we have over here, first of all, it has the -p option because you're going to be creating a parent directory and then children directory inside of it. Now, the first directory that this command is going to create is the music folder. So it's going to create a directory called music. And then inside music, notice that it's separated by a /. It's going to create 2 folders, jazz and then rock. Notice that there is no space in the comma. There is no space between those 2 words, just a comma. You need to separate those folders by commas, right? Because you want the mkdir to operate in each file one at a time. Therefore, we separate them by a comma, not a space. It's very important to remember that. If you put on a space there, finito, kaputski, doesn't work. It breaks. Now, after that, the mkdir command, after creating jazz and rock, is going to create MP3 files, videos, OGG files inside each one of these folders. So inside jazz, there are going to be 3 folders created titled this. And then inside rock, 3 folders are going to be created inside called MP3 files, videos, and OGG files. Now, inside MP3 files, videos, and OGG files, it's gonna create 3 directories called new1, new2, and new3 in a single command. Boom, mind blown, like the GIF, right? Poof. Let's see it in practice. So I'm gonna open a terminal over here, and I'm just gonna call this, and I'm gonna do clear. Oops, my apologies. Just gonna clear that, and I'm just gonna open a new tab, and let's go to the home screen, and I'm gonna create that exact same directory. So I'm gonna create one directory called video games, right? So let's do mkdir, and let's call it -p, right? Because the directory doesn't exist. Video games. And then inside this directory, I'm gonna create 3 more directories for 3 categories of games. So I'm gonna open bracket, and I'm gonna call the first one FPS, right? And then after that, I'm gonna call RPG, right? And then after that, I'm gonna do MMORPG. Okay? Those 3 directories will be created. Now, inside those 3 directories, I want to create 3 more directories, right? So I'm gonna do /, and I want the shell to go inside each of those 3 directories and create one single directory called new, right? And then inside the new directory, I want 2 more directories called high, low. Now, notice, I'm going to press enter, and I'm going to use the tree command to show you the entire directory tree that we created in a single command. Like I said, it's going to first create video games. Then it's going to create 3 directories called FPS, MMORG, and RPG. Then inside each one of these directories, it's going to create one new directory called new. And then it's going to create another directory called high, low, high, low, high, low. You tell me if this isn't cool. Before you saw this, the only way that you knew how to do this was by first creating video games, and then creating FPS, and then creating RPG and MMORG, or maybe creating the 3 of them in a single command, right? One after each other. Now look how simple this is. Crazy simple, right? Now, the only way to get brace expansion is by practicing a lot. Come up with directory trees in your head, or write them down in a piece of paper, and then try to create a brace expansion that does that, that creates that, right? Now, let's say that inside high and low, right, or inside FPS and MMORG and RPG, I want to create one file called list of games. I can do the same thing. For example, I can do touch, and then I want you to go inside video games, and I'm gonna open and close braces, and I'm gonna do FPS, MMORPG, and then RPG. And then inside there, I want you to create, inside each and every one of those folders, create one file called list of games.txt. Notice that if I run the tree command again, that particular file was created there. See how cool brace expansion is. I can also remove them. I can literally run the rm command and get rid of those files. See? Let's say I want to remove the directory low. That's it. I want just to remove the directory low from all of these directories. Remove -r. As a matter of fact, we have the command over here, so why don't we simply fix it? Let's run over this command real quick, right? So remove recursively this directory, low. So I want you to go inside FPS, then new, then get rid of low. Then go inside RPG, new, and then get rid of low. Then go inside MMOR, new, and then low. Run enter. Oh, there you go. So I put a period by mistake there. And if I do 3 one more time, notice that the file is kaputski. It's gone. Bye-bye. Gone with the wind. So that is the demonstration of the the brace expansion command. As you can see over here, there is a lot of things that we can do. Braces are great for creating a bunch of files in one shot, right? Using what is called a range expansion. For instance, if I want to create 3 files called, let me do CD, video games, and then here I want to create 5 files from 1 to file called game 1 to 5. I can simply do this. And this is going to create, as a matter of fact, let's do WY. And this is going to create 5 games, game 1, game 2, game 3, game 4, game 5, WY in one single shot, no problem. See? I can also use alphabet letters, right? Uppercase or lowercase, no problem. I can provide even a custom range, 001 to 0010. See, I can also do multiple. For instance, I want you to do file A to C and then file 0 to 10.js. Why don't we give it a try? So, touch, file, open and close braces first, and then here we're gonna put our first set A to C, and then comma. Here we're gonna put another set A to Z, and then here we're gonna put another set 0 to 100. Why not? .js. And what this is gonna do is gonna do, hey, touch, I want you to create files 0 to az.js. Then go back in here and do A to Z capital .js. Then go back in here and do 0 to 100.js. See? A fraction of a second, way too fast. I want you to do that in the graphical interface and be as efficient as I am. And yeah, before anybody says it, oh, but this is not practical. Trust me, the fact that it exists is just amazing. Bingo bango. Okay, so now that we demonstrated that, make sure that you practice all of this stuff whenever you want. Also, you can provide a list of files if you want, one after each other, separated by a comma. No big deal. It's pretty cool. I want you to try to replicate this directory structure. Like, don't look at the resolution because the solution is there in the presentation. I want you to try to do it on your own, right? So, create music, then it needs to create 2 folders, and then inside these 2 folders, these 3 folders, and then inside each one of these folders, one folder called new. And then see if you can do it. If you can't, right, if you try, couldn't do it, the answer is right over here. But first, try it on your own. And we looked at that when we were in the lecture, and that's about it. Now, with this knowledge that you have over here, you should be able to do this, which is question number 5 from brace expansion. So I already showed you a couple of examples over here on the command line. Show you a couple of examples over here on how to do what we were doing. So I expect that you should be able to do this. You should be able to do this ones over here. And just so you know, you can run multiple commands to get it done. For instance, I can run the first one, asset, images, large and source, and small and source, and then the second one, video, large, source, small, and source. I can do that, no big deal. Or I can do it in one shot. It's all of that is possible. But I want you to try to get it done, right? And let me see if there is a very difficult one that I can try to. Actually, I like this one. I'm gonna do problem number 3 for you as an example. So I'm gonna go over here. Let me put it on the side. Let's do a clear over here. And let's go back, remove video games. I forgot the -r, and it's gone. So, we're going to create a directory called docs. In here, we need to have books and research, right? And inside books, I need to have history, math, science, and social. And the same thing for here. History, math, science, and social. Okay, so let's do mkdir -p because I'm creating a parent directory and children's inside of it, and then docs, and then here I start creating my first brace expansion because this is the first level, right? Books, and then research. Okay, now the next level is these 4 folders over here, and notice that these 4 folders are the same, so I know that this is another expansion. So it's gonna be history. I'm just gonna call it his. Math. I'm just gonna call it MA for just to be just to save time, and SOC. If you do tree, docs, voila. Now, what happens? What happens if you have a tree that has that is different, right? It's similar to this, but instead of having history, math, science, and social, you have for books you have history, math, science, and social, and then for research you have philosophy, sociology, and I don't know, religion, right? So let's do RM minus R, and let's do docs. Actually, no, I have a better idea. I want to add another folder over here. So I want to do books, research, and I want to do, I don't know, magazine, right? And inside magazine, I want 3 more folders. I can literally do this. mkdir minus p, docs, and then add another folder here. Magazines, and then here I can do, I want you to create one folder called old and another one called new. Now you want to see something interesting? I can put another brace expansion over here if I want to. For instance, old and new, but inside old, before the comma, I'm going to put a forward slash to let the command mkdir know that this is going to be another expansion. For instance, inside old, I want to create 3 folders called VG for video games, PC, and math. Inside new, I also want to create 3 different folders, and these ones are gonna be called actually, let me do this. Oops, sorry. These ones are gonna be called science, right, and then nature. That's it, right? Take a look at this. Inside magazines, I create 2 folders, new and old, as you see over here. Old, new. But because I have another expansion over here before this comma, these 3 folders were created. So I created math, PC, and VG, and also nature and science inside new. Now this one is a little bit more complex, but I am confident that you can figure it out. I am confident that with enough practice, you are going to be able to get the logic of this. Now, you don't have to do it in a single command like I did. You can run multiple brace expansions to get it done. For example, if you look at problem number 4, you can run a single command to get this part done, and then another command to get this part done over here if you want to. And that's okay. That's fine. I don't know. I don't expect you to get it from the get-go, but just practice enough, because this feature is just amazing. And once we get into shell scripting, that's gonna be by the end of the semester, we're gonna even do even more greater stuff with this breaks expansion stuff that I just showed you right now. Anyway, that's about it. Make sure that you do all of this. If you need help, let me know. Reach out to me in Slack. I can have another tutoring session before this is over. This lab 4 and lab on number 4 and 4.1 and 4.2 are gonna be due in 8 days instead of the regular 7 days. I want to give you an extra day for you to practice as much as you can and try to have fun. I'll see you, well, whenever I see you.